Hey cousins, welcome to Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas.
Welcome, cousins, to this episode of Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. I'm your host, Cornell Wright, the People's Lobbyist. Today I'm going to ask the question, when is enough enough?
Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas is intended for the participation of responsible adults of legal drinking age who wish to engage in substantive virtual discussions and social drinking for entertainment purposes only. Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas does not advocate the abuse of alcoholic beverages. Choosing to participate in any of the drinking activities shared in the program should be made with moderation and caution and is the sole responsibility of the user.
So cousins, when is enough enough? I'm still wearing my mask, as many of you should. I'm still working to get my second vaccine, not my second vaccine, but the booster shot, okay? And why are we still going through things that seem to be so straightforward and so clear? Let me just ask you a couple questions, a couple situations that are current, cousins. You may have missed them. You may have heard about it. It may have passed you. Let me just kind of wrap all these things up, because this whole ball of confusion, as was once said by one song lyricist, is what we're all dealing with, either subconsciously or in the front of our minds. Let me just kind of give you a quick summary of some of these ideas that I have to ask, when is enough enough? So cousins, we have not one, but two trials occurring in our country right now in which cousins who had loaded firearms, guns, and shot unarmed cousins, and they are claiming that they feared for their lives. Cousin, if I have a gun and you don't have a gun, I'm not worried about you. Isn't that the whole idea of having a gun? And so then we're going to say that their defense is that they feared for their lives, cousins. Isn't America supposed to be land of the free and home of the brave? What is that, cousins? Is enough enough? So now, cousins, think about this. There's this whole thing about the Congress and the media, and cousins are trying to gaslight us. Remember, we talked about in some past episodes about gaslighting, what that means, and how that psychologically game's going on, trying to convince us that what happened on January 6th, as we all saw on TV, live in living color, was no big deal. Come on, cousins. And then you have people wanting to try to exert executive privilege so that their information, as their cooperation and collaboration with what happened on January 6th, doesn't come out. Cousins, if I'm telling the truth, I want you to know that. Right, cousins? So if I'm hiding something or don't want some information to go out, is that something you can really trust? I'd say no, cousins. Enough is enough. All right? Think about this, cousins. We have a number of relatively high-profile individuals, not me and you, because, see, we got the rule of law that kind of hits us on a regular basis. You see what I'm saying? But we have high-profile individuals who have been subpoenaed by federal courts and by the Congress and those sort of things. A subpoena means that you're supposed to come in, show up, and tell the truth about what you know about a given situation. They're ignoring it. They're blowing it off and not showing up. And then, when they do get confronted with it, they're claiming not guilty to not showing up. Cousins, come on. What are they trying to do? They're trying to not show up for a subpoena that's federally, that's a legal document, and then they're going to say that I'm not guilty of not showing up. Cousins, what's going on here? You with me? Cousins, let's go back to January 6th. When did it become possible in the United States of America to have a violent takeover or an attempted coup of our government and have there be no ramifications? Now, there's been a number of people who started going to jail. We're starting to see that recently. As you know, I think one of the guys that had the headdress on, he got a few months, a couple years in jail, a few months and that sort of thing. But cousins, we always talk about when you hear about, gee, they had this crime and got this many years. Right, cousins? This crime got this many years. Well, I don't know about you, cousins. I think storming our nation's capital is this big with this much time served. You see what I'm saying? You think about that, cousins. I can go out here and do almost nothing and get 40 months in jail. And here's somebody who goes in and attacks our nation's capital in front of the world, and he gets this much time. I don't know, cousins. When is enough enough? So, cousins, we then have this whole discussion going on. We've seen it happen when our elected officials are starting to justify that their words don't matter. Now, cousins, our leaders are our leaders because we choose for them to be our leaders. Leaders are only leaders when someone decides to follow them. Everything a leader says is important. Why? Because we, as the followers of that leader, listen to what they're saying. We listen to what they directly say. We listen to what they're inferred by what they say, right? So let's think about this, cousins. So let's go. People are starting to say, oh, well, I said this, but oh, I was kidding. So, cousins, let me take you back to a point in time, and let's say maybe I was dating, okay? And maybe during the course of the date, I say kind of, well, you know, it'd really be nice to come home with you. And the young lady I'm talking to says, you said what? I said, oh, no, I'm just kidding. Cousins, do you believe that? To all the female cousins, how many times has that happened to you? And so we're going to believe that I really didn't mean that to happen? If she had said yes, what was going to happen? I was going to be happy to go home. So how is this not the same thing occurring with all of these other activities? You with me, cousins? When leaders say things, it matters. As a result of that, people can start to change things after the fact? No, 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 no. You have leadership, you have responsibility, you need to be accurate and appropriate in what you say, because who knows, when you start negotiating on major deals and internationally, they're going to listen to exactly what you say in the words, and they're going to act upon those words. Words matter, cousins. So when you also start to think about the Republicans. Now, with all due respect to my Republican cousins, there are a number of whom voted for the recent infrastructure bill, a bill that's going to help everybody in the country. Democrats as well as Republican districts, Democrats as well as Republican states, is helping the whole country. And because those cousins voted for something that is good for everyone, they are now being targeted to be taken out of their positions. Is it because it was a bad idea, cousins? Or because they actually showed support for what they wanted to support their cousins and their constituents, and not because of some other puppet master? Cousins, this is not right. When do we start getting to having our senators and our House of Representatives start to pay more attention to what's better for us, we the people, as opposed to what's better for them? And that's the other piece that's really starting to come into play here, cousins. I heard someone say the other day that in the House of Representatives in particular, because they spend a 2-year term, they are constantly running for political office. So if you're constantly running for political office, maybe you're not doing enough to work for the benefit of the people. Isn't that their job, to benefit the people and not necessarily to be reelected? Because if you really did enough at your 2 years, and you could go back to your constituents in your district and say, hey, I did this, 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 and this, wouldn't that be strong enough to get reelected, as opposed to being based upon marketing and sound bites? I think so, cousins. I think the model has gotten reversed as to what we should be looking for from our elected officials. And they're more concerned about themselves and their party and keeping the respective power than giving us good ideas that come in the crucible of exchange of good ideas, different positions, that's fine, but let's come out with the best idea for the cousins and let's move forward with that. So cousins, you think about all these different things that are going on. And I would offer to you this, cousins. Think about a 6th grader that you know. You ask a 6th grader some of these things that are going on, and they'll tell you the truth. So if a sixth grader knows what's going on and is telling the truth, what are the rest of us doing and what are we talking about, cousins? So it kind of comes and says, when is enough enough? You with me, cousins? So keep in mind, leaders are only leaders when someone decides to follow them. If they're not doing what we need to do on behalf of all the people, we need new leaders. We need ideas. We need creativity. We need things that are going to bring us together and not tear us apart. Get ready for the next political season, cousins, because it's coming right around the corner. And you will hear more about that right here on Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. See you next week, cousins.
We are the people.